Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jalsa Salana, of course, is part of a major setup that takes place from right at the beginning of the inauguration. Even before then, of course, at the end of the last Jalsa, our administration kicks in. And we have about 10 nizamats under 10 naib officers. So there's 100 nizamats in total. So the 10 naib officers basically look after each of their own respective portfolio. And alhamdulillah, that's the structure that we adopted last year. This year, the only addition to that was the addition of an extra nazim for Lajna. Because what we've decided is that because Lajna effectively has half the Jalsa administration, we feel that a lot of the attention that we focus on the men's side sometimes means that the ladies are neglected. So this year, alhamdulillah, we've given them the full support. We've given them nazims for the transport, for food. We've given them a nazim for their site arrangements. Around the site, you've probably seen the exhibition, the centenary exhibition for the UK centenary. And alhamdulillah, people have made a lot of comments about this with historic photographs dating back to 1913 and all the khulafa. And of course, we have the central exhibition for photographs, which shows all the murabbis that came here from back in 1913 to date. So it has a full history of what's been happening in the UK Jamaat. And of course, apart from that, you'll always see something new in Jalsa Salana, and by the grace of Allah, this year is no exception. The marquees are much bigger, the accommodation marquees are bigger, the langar is obviously much bigger as a result of us moving permanent structures, as we mentioned this in his sermon, that we have permanent structures here now for the kitchen, and alhamdulillah, we have our own independent roti plant here which produces proper chapatis as we're used to at home. Well, of course, as you know, this is a farm. For 362 days a year, it is a farm, and we have to transform it within the 28-day period that the council laws allow us to change it into anything we wish. So in those 28 days, we have to set up the structure and take it down and turn it back into a farm within that period. So that's the challenge, and that's the challenge that alhamdulillah our teams have been facing quite successfully by the grace of Allah, and the council has been visiting the site obviously regularly. So not only are we complying with the regulations as far as planning is concerned, we also have to comply with the health and safety requirements, the building control requirements. So you'll probably have seen a lot of people going with their yellow high visibility jackets, the hard hats, and because this is part of the requirements, and of course a very high standard for food hygiene that they require, because obviously we're feeding over 30,000 people here. And alhamdulillah, by all counts, and when I talk to some of the people that have come for Jalsa here, they all say the arrangements, particularly for our dignitaries that go to Jamia, because that is a brand new site for us from last year, and Allah blessed us with this beautiful building, which was a 4-star hotel on a 34-acre site with 69 en-suite bedrooms and other facilities. So alhamdulillah, when they see that set up, we're able to look after the guests of the Promised Messiah in a way that probably we weren't able to do in previous years. Those of us that are old enough to remember, when Khalifa Rabi' Rahmatullah came here in 1984, when the first Jalsa was in Islamabad, it felt like a city, a huge city for us, Islamabad. You know, we had acres of this 23-acre site that we thought we could never fill. And by the grace of Allah, by the year 2000, it was clear that we were packed to capacity and we couldn't accommodate a single more person into the site. And so Hazur then instructed us to look for another site, and we managed to find Hadiqatul Mahdi by the sheer grace of Allah. Here we have 210 acres, so the progression is tenfold in as many years. So with the grace of Allah, if you follow the trajectory through, I think you're probably looking at about 2023, inshallah, we'll be looking for another site. Well, if you include the tents that people bring themselves, of course there's a large village here that in itself is a village of independent tents people bring from their homes. We also provide tents for people to stay in, as far as individual families can stay in those tents, and those number some 400 tents. So there's a whole tent city for private tents, which is about 400 tents. And then of course we have all these other structures for accommodation for the ladies, for the men, and for Jalsa Gah, of course, and all these facilities you see around, the exhibitions, the offices, the langars, and it runs into over 1,000 tents. And so, you know, and of course the size of those some of those tents are not even available in this country. For example, the 2 Jalsa Gah marquees, There isn't a UK company that can provide us the size of tents that we put up here, which are over 50 meters wide. They have to come from Central Europe. I think the most interesting fact about Jalsa for me is the fact that even though you're here over the 28 days and you watch it come together, it never ceases to amaze anybody who comes over the 28 days, how literally in the last day, everything, but almost like the angels have made it happen, that it just all comes together and all starts working. You know, it goes from nothing to something almost within hours. So I think that's the most astonishing thing about Jalsa Salana, and each year you experience it, and I said it just helps your spirituality revive itself for another year until next Jalsa.